If you've noticed yourself drifting toward one side of the hallway, clipping door frames you used to walk through with ease, or feeling like your feet aren't quite sure where the ground is anymore, it's not clumsiness, and it's not just getting older. There's a specific system in your body that's quietly losing signal, and once you understand which one, you can start rebuilding it starting today. Here's what's actually happening. The soles of your feet are packed with tiny pressure sensors called mechanoreceptors. They're constantly reading the ground beneath you and firing that information up to your brain, thousands of times a minute, so your brain can make split-second corrections to keep you walking in a straight line. After 70, a large percentage of these receptors simply go quiet, not because your feet are broken, but because the nerve pathways carrying that signal degrade with age, a process doctors call peripheral proprioceptive decline. Your brain is essentially trying to steer a car with a foggy windshield. It still wants to walk straight, it just isn't getting clear enough information about where the ground is to do it. And that's why the standard advice you've probably heard, just be more careful, walk slower, hold the railing, doesn't fix anything. Those are damage control strategies. They don't restore the signal. Today, you're going to learn what's really breaking down in your feet, ankles, and inner ear, and the specific, doable exercises that retrain your brain to read the ground again. Let's get into it. Why you actually veer. Your ability to walk in a straight line depends on 3 separate information systems working together. Your eyes tell your brain where the world is. Your inner ear, specifically the vestibular system, tells your brain which way is up and how your head is moving. And your proprioceptors, the sensors in your feet, ankles, knees, and hips, tell your brain exactly where your body is in space, without you having to look down and check. When you were younger, these 3 systems overlapped so much that if one had a bad day, the other 2 would quietly cover for it. You could close your eyes in the shower and still balance just fine, because your feet and inner ear were doing the work. After 70, all 3 systems weaken at once, and that's the part almost nobody explains. The mechanoreceptors in your feet lose sensitivity, the hair cells in your inner ear that detect motion start to thin out, and your eyes, even with correction, process visual information about half a second slower than they did at 40. Half a second sounds like nothing, but when you're making constant micro-adjustments to stay upright, that delay is the difference between a smooth stride and a stumble. So you're not dealing with one broken system, you're dealing with 3 systems that used to back each other up, all getting quieter at the same time. That's why the veering, the drifting, the sense that your feet aren't quite where you think they are, tends to show up seemingly out of nowhere in your 70s, even if you were steady as a rock for decades. Why it pulls you to one side. Now, here's where it gets specific to why you veer instead of just feeling generally unsteady. When your foot sensors go quiet, your brain doesn't just lose information evenly. It tends to lose more input from one side than the other, often the side you favor when you sit, stand, or sleep. Your brain, not getting a clear signal from that weaker side, unconsciously starts leaning your weight toward the side that's still sending clear information, because that's the side it trusts. Do this for months without correcting it, and you end up with a walking pattern that pulls consistently in one direction. It's not a stroke, it's not vertigo, it's your brain leaning in to whichever leg is still talking to you clearly. The real fix. So how do you fix a system that's losing signal? You retrain it. Proprioceptors, unlike some nerve tissue, respond well to repeated stimulation even later in life. This is the part almost nobody tells you, because it's not dramatic and it's not a pill. It's targeted, specific movement that forces those sensors back into active use. Let's walk through exactly how to do that, one system at a time. Step 1. Wake up your foot sensors. The first thing to rebuild is the sensory feedback in your feet themselves, because everything else depends on this foundation. Twice a day, spend 2 minutes standing barefoot or in thin socks on a folded towel or a thin cushion, not memory foam, something with just a little give. Stand there and simply shift your weight slowly from your heels to your toes, then side to side, paying close attention to what you actually feel under each part of your foot. This feels almost too simple to matter, but you're forcing those mechanoreceptors to fire again after months or years of walking on flat, predictable surfaces that never challenged them. Hold on to a countertop or sturdy chair back the first few times. Within 2 to 3 weeks, most people notice their feet start waking up, picking up texture and pressure changes they hadn't felt in years. Step 2. Test the signal with the eyes closed check. Once your feet are picking up signal again, you need to test whether that signal is actually making it to your brain and being used correctly. And this is where a classic technique comes in that physical therapists have relied on for decades. Stand near a wall or a sturdy counter, close your eyes for 10 seconds, and simply notice whether you feel yourself drift. Most people are shocked at how much they lean without visual input to correct them. Do this once a day, always with support nearby, and over a few weeks, you'll notice the drift getting smaller. That's your brain relearning to trust proprioceptive input instead of leaning entirely on your eyes to keep you upright, which is the overcorrection that made things worse in the first place. Step 3. The toe alphabet for your ankles. Try this one right now if you're sitting down. Lift one foot a few inches off the floor and slowly trace the alphabet in the air with your big toe. Capital letters, nice and controlled. Switch feet when you're done. This looks silly, but it's doing something specific. It's forcing your ankle joint through a full range of motion in every direction, which stimulates the proprioceptors in your ankle that tell your brain exactly where your foot is without looking down. Weak ankle proprioception is one of the most under-discussed reasons people start veering, because a wobbly ankle sends unreliable signals up the chain, no matter how good your feet or your balance training is. Step 4. Retrain your inner ear with the head turn walk. Next, let's talk about your inner ear, because even if your feet are perfectly retrained, a weak vestibular system will still throw off your line of walking. Here's a simple daily habit that makes a real difference. When you're walking somewhere familiar and safe, like your living room or a quiet hallway, turn your head slowly left and right as you walk, a few times each direction, keeping your eyes fixed on a point ahead of you. This might feel strange at first, maybe even a little dizzy, and that's actually the sign it's working. You're forcing your vestibular system and your eye muscles to coordinate while your body is in motion, which is exactly the skill that erodes quietly over the years, and exactly why turning your head while walking can suddenly throw your balance off after 70 in a way it never did before. Step 5. Bring it all together with the heel-to-toe line walk. Now let's bring it all together, because these systems were never meant to work in isolation, and the final piece is training them to cooperate under real walking conditions. Once you're comfortable with the individual exercises, try what's called heel-to-toe walking along a straight line, like the edge of a hallway rug or a strip of tape on the floor. Place one foot directly in front of the other, heel touching toe, for 10 steps. Keep a wall or countertop within arm's reach the first several times you try this. This single exercise recruits your feet, your ankles, your inner ear, and your vision all at once, which is exactly the skill your brain needs walking down the sidewalk or through a grocery store aisle. Most people who do this consistently for 3 to 4 weeks report a noticeably straighter, more confident stride, not because their legs got stronger, but because the communication between their sensors and their brain got clearer. What not to do. A quick word on what not to do, because a couple of common habits actually make this worse. Wearing thick, heavily cushioned shoes around the house all day might feel comfortable, but it further mutes the already weakened signal from your feet, starving the exact sensors you're trying to retrain. When you're doing your practice exercises, do them barefoot or in thin socks whenever it's safe to do so. And try to resist the urge to stare down at your feet while you walk. It feels like it should help, but constantly looking down actually trains your brain to rely even more heavily on vision and less on proprioception, which sets you up to veer even more the moment the lighting is poor or your eyes are tired. Put these pieces together: the towel exercise for your feet, the eyes closed balance check, the toe alphabet for your ankles, the head turn walk for your inner ear, and the heel-to-toe line walk to bring it all together, and you're not just managing the symptom of veering, you're addressing the actual signal loss underneath it. Most people who commit to this for even 15 minutes a day, spread across the morning and evening, start noticing a straighter, steadier stride within 3 to 4 weeks. Not because anything in your legs changed overnight, but because you gave your brain the clear, consistent input it had been missing. If this video helped make sense of something that's been quietly worrying you, do one thing for me. Share it with someone in your life who's mentioned feeling a little less steady on their feet lately. It might be exactly what they needed to hear today. And I'd love to know in the comments, which of these exercises are you going to try first? The towel balance or the heel-to-toe line walk? Let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next one.